What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Gamescast live for Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. I am joined today by Greg Miller.
Hello, Tim.
Our Kind of Funny up-and-comer, Madeline Stanley.
Hey, Tim.
And rounding out our group today, she's back from New York, everybody.
I
It's
am.
Joey Noel.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good.
You weren't, you've been here,
Yeah.
but you went to New York last week to play
Correct.
this game. And
I
now we're going
did.
to talk about it.
Hell
so
yeah.
I'm happy that you're back.
I know. I am too.
A fun little jaunt to the East Coast.
Yeah,
How
a
was
little-
that? Let's talk about New York for a second.
It was so fun. It was the best. It was like the perfect couple days in New York weather-wise. It was like low to mid 70s, just walked around, no jacket, perfect. Got to stay in like an awesome part of town and just wander around. And it's like, these are the kinds of trips that people spend in New York that are like, I want to move to New York. Like I could have a cool life in New York. But then I went on the subway and it was like real hot and sweaty. I was like, maybe I'm not built for this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so fun. It was excellent and had a really fun time playing this game.
Well, I can't wait to hear all about that because remember, everybody, this is the Kind of Funny Gamescast where each and every weekday we get together to talk about the biggest reviews, previews, and topics in video games live on YouTube, Twitch, and podcast services around the globe. If you love what we do, please support us with the Kind of Funny membership on Patreon or YouTube to get all of our shows ad-free. Watch us record them live, and you get a daily exclusive show that we like to call Greg Way, everybody. Greg, what's today's about?
Madeline, what's today's about?
I answered a ton of questions. I think like 20 minutes of questions that y'all submitted. So
That's awesome.
it's
We love
about
it.
everything that you guys asked me.
About what's it like being an up-and-comer
Yeah.
here, Kind of Funny?
Did anyone ask you about your shirt?
No one, I don't think they saw the shirt.
Well, now that I am,
Yeah.
I want you to
Oh my
know that I think
gosh.
it's amazing. It's the
Thank you
best shirt
so
I've ever
much.
seen.
What is the shirt, Tim, for those who aren't audio listeners?
It's a Dominic Toretto shirt, styled in one of those old retro. Just amazing. I've never seen one of these shirts I don't like.
They're
you know what
so
I mean?
good,
Even
right?
if I don't respect the person, I'm like, they're still cool. You know,
They are
great
really
You have the
design.
Topanga one, right?
No, that's
Bless
blessed.
does.
Bless has the
Bless has
Topanga.
that
Yeah,
one,
yeah. I have a different Topanga shirt. Got it from Target.
Who knew there were so many Topanga shirts available
Hey,
in
man.
2024?
I saw Funko Pop of her yesterday at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah,
Do the kids
cultural
want 'em?
relevance, man. Oh yeah, I mean, dude, Sabrina Carpenter was from the new era.
Yeah?
Girl
Yeah.
meets world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never forget.
I think she has way more cultural pull than Topanga currently.
You know
right
what?
now.
Yeah, but it's, Topanga was there for her. She helped
It's
raise
true.
her. You know what I mean?
It's
true.
very fair. Plus, we got Adam Brody coming back into cultural relevance. Maybe Danielle Fishel's next.
Ooh, could be.
Maybe she gets a resurgence.
She's never left. Okay.
I know, but maybe she gets put in front of a new audience with a new project.
You know how into WWE she is? Very,
Oh, really?
very.
I didn't know that about her.
Yeah, she's gonna go through a table one day. That's her goal,
Oh, okay.
and I love that.
It sounded like a threat. Greg was like, whoa, Tim.
Bully Ray's over on Busted Open Radio being like, I'm going to put her through a table.
For a chance to be part of the show, submit your thoughts and opinions as YouTube Super Chats as we go. If you've been playing any fun games, Super Chat in. Let us know what your experience has been with them. I would love to hear. A little housekeeping for you. You already got news of Nintendo Switch's new mystery feature on Kind of Funny Games Daily. And then the stream after this is the continuation of the Until Dawn full play. Greg, I missed all this. I didn't get to watch Games Daily
Sure.
today. I saw Nintendo was going to have a whole playtest. I don't need you to tell me everything, but do we know what's going on?
We don't know what's going on. I think they said 10,000 people is what they're looking for. A variety of countries, including the United States and Canada. You need 2.2 gigs of free space,
Okay.
which makes us go, okay, what could this be? I was guessing on system voice chat is what they're trying out. Like use it with your headphones and stuff.
Interesting.
But I think that's too. That sounds 2.2. That sounds like too much for that.
Yeah. The rumors are Miiverse. And by rumors, I just mean people
Want
willing
that.
things.
We want. We were trying to will Street Pass back. You know what I mean? Like, get there, yeah, no.
Ooh.
Well, I'm interested, everyone. If you're a Kind of Funny member, you can get the Greg Way, that is Madeline Stanley, answering your questions. So definitely highly recommend that. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining. Today, we're brought to you by New Worlds Eternum, but we'll tell you all about that later. It's time to get to the topic of the show. Joey Noel went to New York City to play
New York City.
Mario and Luigi Brothership.
I did. It was really fun. I had a great time. I've never played a Mario and Luigi game, so they gave us a little primer at the top being like, this is what the series is like. So this is the first game to be made for console because apparently it's only been handheld so far, which I didn't know. And I was like, oh, wow, that's a crazy jump, I guess, to go from DS and stuff like that to console. And then it's the first one there's been other ones that have come out more recently, but this is the first one that's like a brand new like lineage title and not like a follow-up to a previous one.
And also, like, I mean, so the franchise started. I mean, let me just be a Nintendo Tim nerd for just 1 second here before we get into everything. But you know, Super Mario RPG came out on the Super Nintendo. That was a collaboration between Nintendo and Square Enix. Square back in the day. And then the success of that led to them being like, oh, we can do this without Square. So then they made Paper Mario, and that turned into a franchise that we now know as well. You know, probably 5, 6 sequels to Paper Mario over the years. And then they started the Mario and Luigi series on the Game Boy Advance. A lot of lineage between the three sub-franchises, but all of them have a comedic tone to them, and a very similar battle system, which is very active, very rhythm-based, a lot of like prompts to like...
A lot of timing
to quick time and all that stuff. And I like the jacket.
Yeah, the jacket's cool.
Chili, sorry.
Yeah.
I keep going from chili to hot chili.
Yeah. And the Mario and Luigi franchise kind of became the, like, I would say, flagship of it, because the Paper Mario kind of fell off the cliff a little bit in terms of quality.
Talking about Sticker Star?
Yeah. But there was one Paper Jam that jammed them up. It was Mario and Luigi mixed with Paper Mario, so that was a whole thing.
I love a crossover.
But the Mario and Luigi franchise started, like you were saying, getting into a bit more of remakes and like up-res ports or whatever from the GBA to the 3DS or anything in between. So it's been quite a while since we've had a Mario and Luigi game, but we have been getting a lot of Mario RPGs. We got Mario RPG Remake in November last year. I think that's right. And then we got Paper Mario Thousand Year Door earlier this year remake. So great stuff. But this is going to be the first new Mario RPG period in a long time, specifically Mario and Luigi Brothership and first console game, all that stuff. So all that out of the way.
I love that. Thank you, Tim.
Joey, what did you think of playing Mario and Luigi Brothership?
It was fun. I get really stressed out by preview events in general. This goes back to E3, all of these things. It is really stressful to play games and have people watch you.
Sit behind you over your shoulder.
Yeah, and be like, oh, what if we did? And I'm just like, I'm just like so stressed out by this environment. But this preview event was really great. They had like groups of 6 of us come for the appointment, be with a Nintendo representative that kind of walked you through everything, which I really appreciated, because there's nothing worse than just struggling through trying to figure out where you go when you between these islands.
Man, you know, the Strand genre is going to have some stiff competition.
But yeah, you are around on this ship and you're going around to reconnect all of these different islands. And then every island kind of has like a little different kind of
theme
gimmick
to it.
Yes, theme, exactly. And then every time you connect a new island, it kind of has a ripple effect throughout the whole world. So it really encourages you to go back. Different things get unlocked depending on what gets interconnected. So this is not necessarily like a one playthrough. You see everything. You definitely have to go back.
Interesting. Okay.
Let's see. What else do I have written down on my notes? That has an ability called Luigi Logic, which, Tim, is this like a thing from before?
Not that I remember. I haven't played all the Mario and Luigi games, but I know that Luigi is a very... like a lot of like the character of Luigi comes from these games.
Oh,
like
really?
of him being like
his characterization.
It's kind of like if you remember his like Final Smash in Smash Brawl, like before they gave him the vacuum like they should have in the beginning, because that makes a lot of sense. He was just kind of fucking weird. He did this like weird like drug induced like little dance thing. Like, you know how his like taunts, like he's just really weird. Luigi being weird comes from these games. Okay.
That checks out. Yeah. So definitely you have Luigi Logic. It's a couple different things. He can go pick up items for you. He can give you hints and stuff about what you need to do. But then there's also ways that he gets weird. It's like, oh, we have to get from this side to this side and the bridge is broken. We're going to turn into like a UFO alien and fly over it. And you're like, I don't really understand, but I like that you're thinking weird and out of the box. So I'm excited to see what kind of like weird random things happen with that. That'll be fun. So originally when we talked about me going to this, I kind of was not interested in going because I'm like, platformer's not my thing. And you were like, Joey, this is not a platformer. I was like, oh, count me in. I'm in. So yeah, it's turn-based. Interesting though that you always have the controls for both characters at the same time. It's not like you're passing back and forth. The A button is when you control Mario, and the B button is when you control Luigi, and then X and Y are paired to it as well. So this is kind of what Tim was talking about with the timing of it, of the battle systems. You go back and forth with each other, obviously, but you have to. The audio cues, I think, for this make it really easy to figure out the timing. Once I had like a little bit more volume, I felt like it was easier to figure out all of that. But you're going back and forth between the characters, and then obviously the enemies are throwing stuff at you. There's a lot of these abilities where you're kicking things back and forth to power them up to hit the enemies, and then you have like a more super move. So that's kind of the battle as you run through these maps. I like the art style. I don't know what necessarily you would call it because it's
cell shaded.
Yeah,
esque.
it very much is trying to emulate the that's the wrong word, but create what the concept art of the original Mario and Luigi games look like.
Yeah.
Because those games first were Game Boy Advance, so what the box art looked like was like this, whereas like you see it on the GBA, and it was a little very different, right? So this being not only the first console one, but the first real Mario and Luigi game in a while, like you can tell that they're like, all right, we're trying to like create a new standard of this is what these games look like.
Yeah. This game has like a fun comedic tone to it. Like
classic for the RPGs, right? I feel like that's always been the thing for Mario RPGs.
And it's a fun thing. Like I did find myself laughing out loud
Thank you, Barrett.
to parts of this, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. So that was really fun. And then it has a fun mechanic called battle plugs. So these are different.
Oh, Nintendo.
They're committed to the plugs and outlets.
You need a theme. Everyone needs a theme.
So these are different craftable, consumable abilities. You use them for about like 5 rounds, I think were the couple that I tried out. And they have just different modifiers, depending on what kind of enemies you have. If you have like a wind enemy, you can have one that combats that. You have electric, all that kind of stuff, and you plug those in. I started with 2 slots for those. And then as you play, you unlock more slots and you unlock more abilities that you can slot in. So it's a lot of, as you get into a battle, oh, this one doesn't work here, we have to swap them out, all that kind of stuff. It could, I think it was really fun in terms of trying to figure out what the right matchups are for everything and how each enemy works. But it is also overwhelming trying to figure this out at the same time. I just want to also give a shout out. I have to figure out, Snoutlet. This is that cute little flying thing that's like your little buddy.
Snoutlet.
Yeah.
And he is insistent, or she or they are insistent the entire time that they're not a pig. But because everyone keeps saying that they're a pig and they get so upset about it, and it's so funny. So yeah, anti-spike if you are ending up with enemies that are really pokey, and all of these different ones. The syrup jar. I don't remember if I used that one. I feel like I mostly was using the spike and the flying specialist ones, because those were a lot of the enemies that we were encountering. But it was a fun way to kind of just augment the battle style and figuring out how to take down enemies faster, because they are just kind of all over the place and you have encounters like pretty often. But I do also appreciate that they showed me how to run away from them, because I don't always want to fight. Sometimes you just want to get to the next objective.
Yes.
Joey, my question for you is this.
Yes.
I am woefully underprepared for Mario RPGs. My sole one is Super Paper Mario on Wii. That was the only one I ever played through. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, but I don't remember it well outside of the humor. So even looking at the gameplay here, my question for you becomes like, when I think of an RPG, when I think of role playing, I think of making choices and making characters my own. But Mario and Luigi are so well defined, and then even what you're saying, you need anti-spike because you're fighting these spike people. Like, did you feel like it was not? But did it feel like it was on rails? Like you're doing these, you have to do this certain thing, or did you feel like there was any ownership over what was happening?
So obviously with the character stuff, you're pretty locked in. Like there's not a ton of agency there. The way that it feels off rails is that there's no like specific path that they're pushing you to. There's a bunch of islands you can choose from, and you can kind of choose how you navigate the world that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you don't have to use those what are they called? The battle plugs. Like you do have to use them, that's the thing. But like it's not, you can't do it, or you can successfully win fights without having like the optimal thing. It's not like you're always always like, I have to use this one, I have to use this one. It is about the like, I like these combinations of moves and abilities and stuff like that. So I don't think you're locked in super hard, but there aren't as many story choices, at least that I experienced. We only played for an hour and a half.
Sure.
That would really, you're kind of going through the main golden path.
Yeah, I would say like the RPG elements do come more into play in the combat as opposed to like story choices. But the story, these games are very writing focused, and I feel like that's where the games, the people either look at them fondly or kind of like, oh, those ones missed the mark. It's really based on how funny it is, like how invested you actually get in the characters, because each of these games has a really like awesome ensemble cast of obviously Mario and Luigi, who have very different characterization than they do in like some of the core games. So it's like it's a little bit more unique to this world. But the cast of friends that you make and the enemies, like each one, like that's really what makes these games special, you know?
Yeah.
And like you're playing it, you're less role playing and you're more just kind of like along for the story of it all. Did you like what you got from the story?
Yeah, it's fun. It is funny. Like one of the islands that we were on is like, their whole thing was like, we got to get back to dancing. And you're like, oh man, they footloosed Mario and Luigi. So there's like really fun mini games on the couple islands that I played that did have like a specific vibe to it. And I think that's where those power-ups come in more often, is because obviously the enemies on every island are going to have something a little bit different, and use those to kind of battle around and hit them differently.
How many characters that you're seeing are like new to just this game, or like classic and Mario characters?
There's quite a few. I feel like every island you meet like a new original character. It's usually like, I think one of them was like, oh, you have to go find this woman's daughter and she's stuck at the top of this island. And so I think Mario and Luigi are like, oh yeah, this is the dancing guy. Look how cool he looks.
Really cool. Really cool.
I was
That's a cool guy.
I was kind of upset that like his little dancing mini game wasn't everywhere, because I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. So maybe I would go back and spend a lot of time on this island.
Groove Master, you're back.
So yeah, each island has definitely a bunch of these different ones and different people and stuff like that. So they feel very different. And even the mechanics of each island, like one was definitely like more of like a maze puzzle kind of thing, and this was a little bit more platforming, just navigating around the island. They have like a bunch of vendors that will give you power-ups and stuff to buy. We didn't spend a ton of time with the vendor, so I don't know exactly what everybody does. But there was a lot of, I'm excited to dive in because I feel like I only kind of scratched the surface and I want to get into it. I didn't necessarily think this was going to end up on a list of games that I wanted to play this year, but I had a lot of fun and I wanted to play more, and I was like kind of bummed when the demo ended.
That's good.
Do you think you're gonna want to see this through to the end when we get review codes?
I think so. I think I'm gonna play this similarly, and this might not work for review codes and stuff like that, to how I play Astro Bot, where like I jump in and I do a couple islands and then I jump off for the night and stuff like that. I had a lot of fun, which I was just truly not expecting, because this was so out of my wheelhouse in terms of like, I don't play a ton of Mario games because I don't like platforming, and even so I feel like I kind of just segment a lot of Mario titles in that, and so this was not on my radar at all. But I had a lot of fun.
JG in the chat says, I like that Nintendo's comfortable letting the RPGs make original characters and races again instead of just naming a few toads and shit. Because that was a big issue in some of the last couple games, is it just got like really like, all right, here's just a new Goomba. And back in the day, like what made these games so special was just how weird they would get, and like just they introduce cast of characters that are like, plugs. You know what I mean? It was like, why are we doing that? But it could be fun. Yeah. CJ Splitson writes in on a YouTube super chat saying, does it feel like a console game?
It does. I played on the TV, so I didn't even play handheld, so I feel like that definitely added to it. But it looked really good. It felt really good. Like it felt like a full-blown game. Like I don't think this is going to be a short game by any means either. I honestly would not have known that this was their first console game if they hadn't told me that. It felt like a full-fledged game. It
is really interesting that this game's coming out. So it's coming out on November 7th. So we're about a month away from this. So at the end of the Switch life cycle, like for them to, this isn't a new franchise, but this definitely is. It might as well be. Like this feels like a fresh start for the Mario and Luigi series, and I hope that it hits for people, because like this, it could be big for Nintendo to kind of revitalize this arm of the Mario RPG world.
Yeah.
But do you think that this has the sauce? Like, do you think when you look at the Nintendo games in recent years, like Switch really has kind of been known for taking franchises and having the definitive version, or having like, oh, we've retooled this franchise to be more modern in a way that like this is really going to hit. They've had a couple of misses here and there, but like,
Yeah.
do you think that this is going to be on that level of like, oh, they did it for Mario and Luigi?
I think so. Playing it didn't feel like I was behind on anything because I hadn't played all the other ones. It did feel like a really good jumping in point for people that don't have any experience with it, and it didn't make you feel like, oh, I'm catching up on things. And it felt really good. I really hope that people like it because I'm excited about it, and I hope that we get more. It's just like a fun, different kind of, like, the humor is fun and it's a different combat style. I will say that it took me a while to get my brain wrapped around controlling both players at the same time. A with Mario and B with Luigi. Like, this is, but I think that's a me brain thing, like not being able to, or trying to do multiple things at once. My brain was just like, what do you mean? And what do you mean you can do move both of these characters at the same time? Because that's kind of out of my realm of RPG stuff. But I think so. It's hard because I haven't played any of the other ones, so it's a little bit like, it seemed good, but I don't have a ton of context for it. But I hope that everybody really likes it, and I hope that these previews get people more excited about it, because I would hate for it to get like glossed over.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a game, and I'm not the Nintendo guy, obviously, but it's a game that has been so under the radar where I haven't heard much about it. Like,
I mean, in classic Nintendo fashion, they just announced it.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first beat that it's had, and then it comes out next month. Like, it's pretty wild to just think of how Nintendo does things these days, where there always will be the Tears of the Kingdom type things where it's like, yeah, we're looking forward to that from unknown Breath of the Wild sequel for years to it actually coming out. But I mean, Zelda, if I remember correctly, this and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom were both announced at the same Nintendo Direct just a couple months ago.
okay.
So that's like, and now that game just came out as well. So
Yeah.
now we're waiting for Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Or at least I am. January, baby.
And maybe that's like a better marketing thing than to announce it years ahead of time if it's a smaller title that it's going to be hard to sustain interest in it over a long period of time. It's like, oh, cool, we announce it with a shorter window so that way it'll stay in people's minds longer.
Yeah. Speaking of that too, though, one thing that is a little weird is we don't know who's making this game.
What is up
in
with
a
Nintendo
new
doing
Nintendo
that?
thing? Like, we just don't know. And like,
Interesting.
For people, we've had this conversation a couple times now, but for people that don't know, in modern times, Nintendo just doesn't say who's working on the games until you see the credits at the end of the game. Like, it's been pretty common that for the last couple of Nintendo releases, like when you boot the game up, like some of them don't have any splash screen, like not even like a Nintendo splash screen. It just goes straight into the menu or straight into a cutscene or something, and there's no like copyright or whatever at the bottom. What's up, Barrett?
I've been wondering about this a lot lately, especially with like we kind of knew, we assumed that Grezzo made Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I think they were a little bit more open about that one.
I don't know that they were. I think that it was just so obvious.
Yeah.
You know, this one's more complicated though, because
Do we think this pattern started since Metroid Dread, where I feel like a lot of hullabaloo came out with Metroid Dread, because I think we did know who made that beforehand, but then there was a lot of people that weren't credited in the making of that game and the credits and stuff like that. Like,
you're talking about Prime Remastered.
No, Dread had a lot of controversy as well. Oh yeah.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah.
Interesting, because I remember Prime Remastered, the problem was the entire original people didn't get credited.
Yeah, no, there were people who actually worked on Dread that did not get
Interesting.
credited. Yeah.
Yeah, so somewhere around there, which again wasn't that long ago in terms of Nintendo releases, they made the shift. But Alpha Dream, who made the original Mario and Luigi games, doesn't exist anymore. So there is the question of like, who is working on this? And all the signs are pointing to ICLA, I think it is, who are the team that made the Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes, which not necessarily a great sign in my opinion, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And we won't know till the credits. So
Missing Link in the chat says, has Nintendo ever really been forward facing about what teams work on games? I feel like, and this could just be a blind spot for me, I don't feel like I am as aware of Nintendo Studios as much as I am for Xbox and PlayStation.
yeah, I mean,
Is that a thing?
I mean, it's kind of just because of how they
Yeah.
do or don't talk about them, you know? And a lot of the Nintendo teams are like similar to how PlayStation used to be with Insomniac. Like they're not actually owned by Nintendo. It's more second party, whatever that looks like. So yeah, it's just gotten more and more vague over the years, but it is weird that we just have no idea officially about this. Brothership. What's up with the name? You liking the ships in this?
Yeah, the ship is how you navigate the map and how you get to these islands. It's fun. You get to like cannonball yourself off the ship into the islands. We didn't spend a ton of time on the ship, so I don't know how much, like if there's anything else to them other than navigating around them. For us, we just use them as navigating. There is like a fast travel, which isn't really like you just go a little bit faster. It's not. I think using fast travel to describe it is like a little generous. I was like, oh, the toads just like fan you there faster. It's not.
That's very funny.
You don't get there that much quicker. But yeah, two brothers on a ship, you know? I think it's like a play on friendship, you know?
I'm saying it.
Yeah.
I understand it's friendship. I understand the brothers. I understand they're on a ship. I was ranting about this on Games Daily. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like it one bit.
Hey, great. I'm going to take the haterade a little further. I don't like the look of the game.
Oh, really?
Oh.
I said no to this preview. I'm like, first off, I'm Mario RPG'd out. There's just been a lot of that.
Yeah.
I mean, literally back to back, my two favorite Mario RPGs ever, Super Mario RPG and Paper Mario 1000 Year Door. I just played them in
Definitely
the
a weird strategy to have three of these come out in 1 year.
within like 365 days, essentially. It's like, what are we talking about? But this being the first new one is exciting. But yeah, I look at this and something about it, I'm like, I don't like it. But I seem to be in the minority by far. Everyone loves the way this game looks. So
I don't, at first glance, love it, but the more I watched, the more I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I will say the music.
yeah, music.
As if Nintendo ever doesn't have great music, but I did really appreciate the music in particular. I feel like the name is hard because it can get misconstrued. Like it's one of those names. It's like, is it Brothership? Is it like it's not one that sticks with me particularly, and I have to like think about it.
Confusing. I didn't realize there was an actual ship, so that makes me feel better. I thought it was just a play on friendship, and I was like, that's a little clunky. But if there's a literal ship, I'll accept it a bit more.
Yeah. It works. I think once you get into it, maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. Are any of you planning on playing this or checking it out or anything?
I want to check it out. Yeah, like I wanted to check out Super Mario RPG, and it just went by and I never got it. So a more modern one, a new story on it. I think jumping in there would be a fun one for me, especially because I like what you're talking about. Everything you're saying about it, Joe, sounds great.
Madeline, any interest?
Probably not. I think it's cute. I don't have a lot of... The only Mario game I've ever played is Odyssey. So I don't have a lot of connection to Mario.
Yeah.
It does look really cute. It might be something I would give a try. It could be a fun, like, travel with the Switch game, but since it is like console and you're like playing it on the TV, I'm like, I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of having the console part of it.
I'm sure it's going to be like most Switch games are, very handheld focused, and like the lineage of this franchise is very simple and very not mission based, but like designed around shorter play periods to be able to save wherever you want, like that type of thing. So I think this is going to work portably very, very well. And I will also say, I imagine that the visual style is going to hold up a lot better handheld for me than on the screen because of just blowing up the assets and all that. Whereas like the Switch OLED screen is like one of my favorite screens of all time. It makes games look so much better.
We got to do a ranking list of Tim's favorite screens of all time.
Oh, dude, you would be surprised at how in depth I could get on a top 10 of that. We're going to talk about some other games. Thank you, Joey, so much for your preview of Mario and Luigi Brothership. But we're going to talk about others right after a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by New World Eternum. New World Eternum is a thrilling action RPG experience for console and PC players with a vibrant world, vast and beautiful setting, dynamic real-time action combat, and the freedom for players to choose how to forge their destiny. Combat is skill-based and dynamic, incorporating swords, guns, and sorcery so that you can build one character to rule them all as you explore Eternum and unravel the mysteries of the supernatural island that you can't leave. You love playing RPGs alone? You can in New World Eternum, or play cooperatively with your friends as you complete quests, get better gear, and level up. Greg played this at Summer Game Fest on PlayStation 5 and was caught off guard by how much he enjoyed it and how many hours he said he could see himself sinking into the final product. There's boss fights, cool enemies, crossplay, resource gathering, and crafting. So yeah, this sounds like a Greg game. Pre-order New World Eternum now on PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X or S to get the Azoth Stalker Wolf mount and prepare for launch on October 15th. And we're back. Madeline, you've been talking about a game called Fears to Fathom.
Yeah.
I've never heard of it. What is it?
It is, well, Tim, I just got my very first PC. So I'm so sorry, Greg. I'm so sorry, Greg. So I've been delving into Steam, and which I had a PC a long time ago, but pretty much only used it to play The Sims.
As one does.
Yes, exactly. So I've been getting into the indie games, some of these smaller titles, and I stumbled across someone on Twitch or on TikTok actually playing Fears to Fathom, and it looked really interesting. It's kind of like retro looking little chunk sized horror games.
Ooh.
They're like each only an hour or so. Some of them I think might be like 2 hours, but they're little fun experiences where you're kind of this child. They're usually like a teenager or something experiencing like a spooky experience, and they're each kind of a different theme. So the very first episode is like you're a teenage boy and you're at home alone and someone's like trying to break into your house.
Ooh.
And there's no like combat or anything, but you can talk to people, you can hide, you can move things around. And it's just a very fun, like atmospheric horror game. It's a really fun game to stream, to like play with other people and kind of get advice. This one I just played and it was really scary. This lady was trying to break into your house and kill you. And
Is it all people just trying to break into houses?
that was 2 of them. The
Okay.
other one, you were a girl who was like on a cross-country drive. Her car breaks down in Missouri.
Yeah.
And
Scary right off the bat.
She like goes to this motel and there's some weird things going on at that motel. So it's really fun. Like there's a lot, they kind of introduce different mechanics in every single episode. So in the one where you can look at all of the cameras, there's kind of like that Five Nights at Freddy's things where you're like looking in the different rooms, using the infrared, but also like there's like a noise mechanic. So if you're hiding from the person, like it's checking your mic levels and everything.
Oh, wow.
Which is extra fun when you're trying to like stream a game.
Yeah, good point.
But the art styles are really cool. I think the atmosphere is really fun. The music is really like unsettling. And because you don't really have that combat, you know, the survival horror type of aspect, but it's kind of like survival horror light, which I think is a really fun introductory. Like I would definitely recommend these games to people who are maybe like, you know, Resident Evil's a little intense for me. Silent Hill's a little intense for me. Like, what could I try? And I would say this is a really great introduction into like a survival horror type game that is not, it's still scary. I think it gets me, but it's not the most gory or extremely jump scary.
Big Gumps in the chat says that they think that most of the stories are based on supposedly true stories from Reddit.
Yeah, they start each thing like basically as if someone is typing into a forum. So they're like, you know, one night I was doing this and this is what happened. And they're kind of narrating it to you as you're playing, like as if you were reading the story in a forum and like seeing it as it's happening.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What's up with the 7-Eleven looking situation?
So in one of the games, you have to go get groceries for this house that you're sitting, and you can talk to the people there. You can get an achievement if you help this woman get the mustard off the top shelf.
Terrifying.
But mostly it's like you're riding a bike by yourself in the dark to the 7-Eleven, and there's some creepy people standing out there. And they're like, oh, that's weird. You're at that weird house. Didn't you hear people got murdered there?
Dun, dun, dun.
And you're like, shoot, well, I got to get that mustard for that old lady.
So what's the situation? Someone was saying that these are free to play?
So I think the first episode's free.
Yeah, I'm on Steam right now. Yeah, it's the first episode is in fact free to play, and then the rest range in prices as they go.
I think most of them are $5, and then the most recent one is $10 because I think the fifth episode just came out in the last month or so.
Yeah, Home Alone's free to play. Norwood Community.
It's straight up called Home Alone. That seems.
Norwood Hitchhike is $4.99. Ironbark Lookout is $9.99. Woodbury Getaway is $9.99.
Oh yeah, so there you go.
There's a bundle though for $24.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, like I said, they are like an hour to 2 hours each, but I honestly feel like really, really reasonably priced for how much fun I've had with them. Like a really fun time. They also like there is a lot of choice based things, so it's not exactly 100% on rails. Like if you choose to do this, then something different happens. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to die. And the only frustrating thing with that is that there is no saving in the game. So if you die, you just have to start the whole thing over. But they are short, so it's not like you're putting in 4 hours and then dying and then having to start over. So, but I think that does ratchet up the tension a little bit because you're like, okay, if I die, I'm gonna have to start at the very beginning.
To put a little bit more thought into this. Can't be like super fast and loose.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds fun. It feels so. I like horror stuff, horror games, and like any horror experience where like Hollywood Horror Nights or Not Scary Farm. That and games I don't do. It's too much. It's too real. I don't like having to participate into it. I like being a viewer.
You don't close your eyes.
I like watching, but I don't want to be in it. So this feels like my perfect way to play a horror game because I usually kind of stay away from them. I will never forget the one Extra Life where we were trying to play some horror game and I was just like inching forward and they were like, we can't do this anymore. It's going to take you 6 hours to play this scene. So this sounds like a fun, spooky way to spend October. I always love a shorter experience too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what's super appealing to me, right? There's so much to play right now, but having these little anthologies for like an hour and stuff for horror games, I'm totally in.
Yeah, I love the idea of anthology horror, and I think I know you like them as well, Greg. Like Dark Pictures anthologies are also anthologies, but they are quite a bit longer. They're a lot different. This is something that's so nice. It's kind of like an episode of TV that you can play where you're like, oh, this is like an episode of American Horror Story, or like maybe a more grounded show than that. But
so are they supernatural, or are they all like intruders, man's inhumanity to man?
They are grounded, but there are some aspects.
Elements.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Don't spoil. Yeah, I don't want to spoil.
I don't want to say too much, but they're not all just like home invasions, even though I made it seem like that's what it was.
That's really funny. Greg, I want to talk to you a little bit about horror games, with where you're at these days. Like what I know you've
that is Tim's horror game
changed exactly,
so much.
changed and grown a lot in terms of like, I mean, your appreciation for Resident Evil and those type of games, and just also horror games have evolved and changed. There's exactly.
Better than Resident Evil 8.
God, I hate you so much.
6.5 compared to a 6.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe a 6 compared to a 5.5.
Oh my God. At least give it a 7.
Village?
Yes.
No, we won't be doing that.
Good Lord. Anyway, where are you at with horror games? Like what? Because there's more than ever, from big, small, everything in between. Yeah. Like, what to you are you like, okay, I'm interested in this? And are there things that are like the red flags of horror games? If you're just like, oh, I'm not going to like whatever this is.
That's a great question, Tim. I'm still not like the Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm still not there's a killer in the house. I want it to be ghosts. You know, especially in the spooky season right now, I want that kind of thing. If we can get a good vampire in there, what's he up to, Joey? You know what I mean? I want that level of supernatural
We do need more
stuff.
vampire games.
We do. A werewolf, sure, why not? Something like to that effect. Which again, like this creepy unsolved mysteries vibe anthology there. Mainly it's the anthology, right? Like what an impressive thing for it looks like a solo developer. I was over on Twitter trying to find out, right? It looks like it's this one person Ray 2 is what their Twitter account is or whatever, making Fears of Fathom in my bedroom. Like how awesome and impressive is it to have that one
incredibly
idea to go
impressive.
Yeah. So no, I want to be creepy, and I think again the problem with most horror games and most horror is that once you see a threat, it gets less scary, right? Well, in terms of a supernaturally weird horror, right? And so brevity is so helpful to all of this, right? Brevity. So the idea that these are an hour, maybe 2 hours or whatever, I love that idea of like get in, get out, be spooky, be scared, then it's over, what kind of thing. I'm all about that.
Well, I also think that's one of the things that even though these are generally more grounded experiences, they are short, but they also really, I think the developer plays really well with tension and not knowing what the threat is. Because I think that's one of the things that you go in playing, you're not really sure actually what is going to be the threat. And so you are going shopping and you're like, well, wait, what is it? Something going to be here? Is it going to be back at the house? Is it going to be a different location? So I think like they throw in a lot of different things that maybe could happen. And as you're playing, you're kind of like trying to unravel like, okay, what's going to scare me? And that kind of keeps you tense, right? Because you're like, I don't actually know exactly what this story is about. They keep it very vague, I think, throughout the beginning so that you are kind of like looking around every corner like, is the old lady with the mustard, maybe she's a vampire. We don't know.
This is the classic my pull to Gone Home, right? Where it was like, wow, this house is haunted or what's happening? You're like going around corners trying to trigger whatever is going to get you or whatever. Yeah, I love that part.
Joey, what about you?
I think this is a great game that we make Andy play, and maybe I watch.
Yes.
Like I said, horror games not really my thing.
But like what do you think that there's how would you enjoy horror games? Like, watching someone play it, is that enough for you? Like,
yeah, I mean, I like obviously all of the like dark pictures and those kind of span the gamut of what the threat actually is. They are a little bit long. I think that's my biggest issue is like if you're trying to save people or you want to make different choices and stuff like that. I don't know that I'm committed to sinking in another like 4 to 6 hours to see all the different outcomes.
It's one of those where, again, to jump in, Fear the Spotlight from Blumhouse Games, talking to them at SGF, and they're like, I forget if they said they were an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, but it's like that, oh, great, that's perfect. And I think in the conversation about Until Dawn, maybe the start of the stream, or maybe when we talked about it on one of the shows, there was a conversation of like, Supermassive is great, and these are awesome experiences. They're just a bit too long, because if you want to sit there with your friends, you need something that's 2 hours or 3 hours to play all in one night. Even for you guys coming back today to jump back into Until Dawn, which is kind of the game that kicked it all off in terms of Supermassive, and not even kind of is. That's great, but such a long experience, whereas I feel like, for me, the last one, House of Ashes, right? There was the one that was the Iraq
Ashley
War or
Tisdale,
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I think Devil in Me was after that one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I loved that one, and it was short enough that me and Jen finished it in like 4 hours, and I was like, okay, we're getting there to a really manageable, I think you could do all this and go.
I want to talk about Until Dawn a little bit. Have you guys, I know you started the stream a couple days ago. You're going to continue it after this. Did you guys talk about your thoughts about this?
We have not.
A little bit throughout.
Yeah.
But in one place in distilled format, no.
No.
Yeah, there are some interesting updates. We definitely saw some cutscenes, especially at the beginning, that we hadn't seen before. And then the new totem stuff. I feel like
weird.
the thing that we talked about the most, because we did not really like that mechanic.
What is it?
Normally, if you find totems in the world, you're just picking them up and they show you like a flashback or a premonition of things that could happen. This one, you pick it up and you have to like weirdly rotate it in the right spot to get it to trigger. And I just don't think it's a mechanic that you need.
No, it's definitely adding time where you don't need to add time to the game. Because it used to be like you would just move your trigger like all the way to the right. It would turn your hand, and then you would look at it. And now you're like having to move it up and down with one of the sticks, and then right and left with one of the sticks. And then it will zero in, and like the screen will get darker when you're kind of in the same direction. But it's very specific in where it wants you to be. So we were maybe spending like actually a full minute or 2 minutes trying to activate
instead of like
totem.
3 seconds
Yeah.
to flip it over. Yeah. We were all very grateful that Madeline and Nick were doing it
Yeah.
and not the rest of us.
It's very touchy, and it's like, that's not, I understand like making it a little bit more interactive, but that I don't find that to be like a good way to make that more interactive.
I haven't played the new version yet. I haven't even really seen much, but I have seen a lot of the scuttlebutt on Twitter of people being really upset with like the changes of like the visually, and it not necessarily, the conversation more being like, was this needed?
Yeah.
But there also are a lot of people I've seen that say that they prefer the old one. Do you think, with your experience so far, would you recommend to first timers the new version or the classic?
So it's tough because I feel really mixed about the way that the new one looks. Because I think a lot of it looks really good. Like Andy and I were talking about this, like some of the character models are like beautiful in a way that they weren't before, but some of them look worse. So like the character Jessica, I think they made her look objectively worse in the new one. But there's another character played by, what's that guy's name, Joey?
Oh, Brett Dalton.
the dancing guy.
Oh, Jordan Fisher.
Matt? Who looks Matt. He looks beautiful. Like
he looks so
looked
good.
kind of he looked whatever, like
That's just Jordan Fisher.
normal.
Yeah.
And the other one, and this one, like his character model is gorgeous, but also everyone's teeth look horrible.
Everyone got
version.
veneers, and it's real
Everyone's
bad.
teeth are really large, so every time they talk, they have like
The choppers
like
and wilds.
yes. So as far as we've played, I don't think especially with it not being like an upgrade price, like I think if it was you pay $10 or $20 if you own the original Until Dawn and you get the PS5 version, I could maybe feel okay about recommending that because it is the lighting is kind of pretty, although they did some weird stuff with the color and the lighting as well, where they made it really bright in some times and it's supposed to be at night. So they kind of
weird.
Like I think about the Matrix and how's that green, and then when they did some of those remasters, they like pulled that away as like to correct for it, and it's like no, that's what it's supposed to look like. Like that's a conscious decision.
Twilight isn't Twilight if it doesn't have that blue tinge
Exactly.
to it. You know?
And pulling away some of the darkness and the
boys
blue
orange.
from Until Dawn, I think is messing with the creativeness, not with the quality of the actual game itself. So if it was a less expensive $10 or $20 upgrade, I could say, yeah, if you really like your 4K and like you really want to see those nice visuals, it might be worth it. But for most people, I would say it's not. Like I would just play the PS4 version.
They also devastatingly, Greg, changed the theme song.
Yes, they did.
No.
It's so I don't like the new one.
No.
No.
And they added a lot more like contemporary, like
Licensed music.
Licensed music that's very strange.
Interesting.
It changes the mood a lot of
Sounded like when George
game.
Lucas went back and put Jabba the Hutt in these
Making
things. You know
things-
what I mean? Like,
Blink.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There are definitely things that they've added that we haven't even gotten to of like the different, is it the colors of the totems or something? And there's one that's like green that's like on a sign, it's like covered. So it seems like something that you don't unlock until you've played through it. And there are some things that are interesting, but I don't think they're interesting enough to pay full price for it again,
No.
especially if you've already bought it and played it.
Yeah. And there's like they added a new section at the beginning that kind of gives you a little bit more of characterization of the three siblings. So Rami Malek and his two sisters. You don't really get a lot of time with them in the original game.
Yeah.
They give you not a significant amount, maybe like 5 extra minutes with them.
okay. Does it work? Does it set the stage better for who they were?
I think it does give you a better idea of like their relationship with each other. But I don't, like I said, I don't think it's like worth it. Like it doesn't make it like, oh yeah, I finally like care about these two girls that start off the game in kind of a perilous situation. Like it doesn't do that much more to make me care about them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You guys have played through the game a couple times, or at least once.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying this playthrough with the squad?
It's fun because it's been a while since I've played it. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't remember. And it is the fun game of like, was this in the original one or is this new? How does this work out? And it's an opportunity to, especially today as we continue to play through. I feel like I've lost a lot of people in my playthroughs. So I am excited, hopefully, to see what it looks like. Maybe if I don't accidentally kill everyone, you know?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Any final thoughts on Until Dawn?
I've just been having fun. It's been fun to play with such a big group of people. I feel like normally I've either played by myself or watched somebody play, but getting to like talk with everybody and make the group decisions. It's very interesting to see because I feel like it's rare that we're all aligned. We're only really aligned on not liking Ashley. That's really the only thing. But it's been fun to see what kind of decisions everybody wants to make.
I do feel like we're about to hit a lot of chaos.
Yeah, 100%.
We're at the chaos spot.
Good.
I think.
This is where it goes crazy.
This is
Yeah.
where it's
This
gonna
is
go
where all
off
the
the
relationships
rails.
end.
Stay tuned, everybody, for the chaos after this episode of Gamescast. But moving on from Until Dawn, I want to talk a little bit about Fields of Mistria, because you were saying
Yeah,
you're
I've
diving
also
into
been playing that. Played that by recommendation of Andy and Joey and Sen Nuggies, who I think is also here in the chat. I've never played Stardew.
Oh, wow.
And so this is my
Ooh.
first, like, everyone is saying this is very Stardew-like.
Yes.
So this is my first thing. My only experience with this type of game would be Animal Crossing New Horizons.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which this feels a bit different than that.
Yeah.
Like a way more...
This is way more involved.
Yes. And it's fun. It's so cute. I do feel like a little overwhelmed as as like that honor student kid that like wants to do everything correct, this game is not good for that type of mentality because there's just literally no way to do even a quarter of everything that you could do in a day.
Yeah. And there's something about the way that the seasons go and the way that they tick that feels extra pressure. You're like,
yes.
I only have so many days to grow all these crops, but then I have to go to the mines. And then what about who's going to feed my chickens? And what about the ducks?
You gotta. The mines are so fun. I love them.
That was the first thing I like maxed out. I'm like, well, now I'm at the bottom of at least the early access, but I want to keep going. Give me all the things.
Did you play this at all, Greg?
I started it, but it was the same thing. I started it one night. That's great. And the next day, X came in to review, and it was that I never got back.
Did Stardew ever grab you or
no?
Not
It
really?
grabbed Jen. It was the same thing where I started Stardew, but it was too much of the farming, and I was like, I'm not about that part of this.
Yeah. This one I think is, it's been interesting to kind of do the comparison between the two, obviously. But I think that this game, the villagers are so much more dynamic than they are in Stardew.
I agree with that 100%. Where when starting this one, even for the surface I scratched, I was like, oh, you're cool, and I'd like to see that. Well,
Yeah.
There's so many different personality types and like definitely people I find myself like gravitating towards, which I think is really smart because you can't really be friends with everyone or, be maximum friendship. So it is cool that there's so many different types of people. You can kind of pick your favorites. But I don't feel like I haven't really been farming at all in this game. So I don't know if you have to do it.
yeah.
Because that's not something I really ever do. I think I only still have 4 little plots of land and I've been playing it for like, I've already done a full season. So if you don't like farming, I don't know if you have to do it. I've been getting by without it.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely ways around it that Fields of Mistria have that I feel like Stardew doesn't. Or at least I think it's a little bit smoother in this where it's like, you need crops to make like the recipes and stuff like that, but you can also buy them from like the little cart, like it rotates every day.
It's just that thing where the farming sim life is. I remember when Harvest Moon wasn't a big deal. I remember hearing about Harvest Moon in the day, and then getting Harvest Moon and be like, oh, I actually don't like this. Like, you know what I mean? We talk about video games being that fantasy fulfillment. I'm like, I do not fantasize about being in a farmer in a small farming town.
You want to be a beekeeper in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. Somebody in the chat was asking if there was one of these without dating. I just want to let you know, I played the entirety of Stardew Valley without doing any of the relationship stuff because I did not personally feel compelled to I didn't really like any of the characters that much. So I was like, no, the children yearn for the mines. I'm going to the mines. I'm going to do all of my farming. I'm going to get my farm all set. You don't have to, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Clearly with
It's
the farming
option.
on that set.
But if you're an honor student.
Yeah.
You have to do everything.
I do need to just once again say we need Ulrich to be dateable.
Yeah, he's great.
He's so cute. He's just like the little himbo who just wants to chop trees down and stuff, or and I guess it's not chopping trees. He's part of the mining and stuff like that. But he has the jerk little brother that everybody's also kind of into because I guess it's I guess we'll settle for you. But just let me date the himbo. He's so cute.
Is he undateable?
They don't let you date him.
Yeah.
Not as of yet.
Not yet.
Wow.
Apparently, you're
Early
not allowed
access
to
strikes
decide between
again.
brothers, which is not what every rom-com has told me. But yeah, it's fun.
Sticking with you, Joey, to close out the show, your Astro Bot, you're still playing
I'm
through?
making my way through Astro Bot. Astro Bot is one of those games that I will suffer through because I'm having such a good time, even though I'm so bad at it. Something about platforming, I just didn't grow up playing platformers or anything like that, and my brain just can't really wrap itself around any of it. But I will say that Astro Bot is making it way easier than any other platformer I've attempted to play. I think it's just so charming. It has so much personality. I love all the abilities and the gimmicks and stuff like that. It's so beautiful. The music is incredible. I'm having so much fun, even though I feel like I have to fight through myself to play it, which is a huge credit to Team Asobi.
Yeah.
Because a lot of lesser games have made me stop way quicker. And I always look forward to it. I just have to play it in chunks or small chunks over the course of a lot of days. It's not a bingeable game for me. And I want to be better at it. And maybe if I just force myself to play it more, I will be. But maybe my brain is just broken.
I'm glad you're hanging in there and taking it at your pace, though.
Mm-hmm. That is the push and pull of this job of being able to, what do I have to play through really quickly and what do I have the flexibility of being able to. So very grateful that a lot of you are much better at this game and can talk about it.
Oh yeah, I love Astro Bot so much. You bringing up the music. They put the soundtrack on
I know.
Spotify.
Oh, is that
I
a
know,
game changer
brother.
for you now?
Oh, I've been listening to it so much. There was like 100 songs.
So good.
Like, and it's like one composer. I don't understand. Like, and they're so
Kenny's
good.
the GOAT.
The GOAT, man. We got a super chat from John Fick saying, just wanted to shout out Madeline. You're doing such a killer job this week. Your Kind of Funny Facebook admin family is super proud of you.
Thanks,
So-
John.
Yay.
So yeah, so Madeline, what you're playing Astro Bot as well. What are you
Yeah.
thinking about it?
I love it. I've completed all of the worlds. I only have like the last boss world, I guess, to do. So I'm excited to do that. I really loved it. It's honestly so good that I'm considering doing the challenge levels, which is not something I would ever do. I've done a couple of them. I've powered through, but they're so frustrating. Some of them having to restart at the beginning every single time. I'm just like, why? Why are you doing this to me? But I would say, similar to Joey, like that's such a testament to how much love and care is put into this and how much fun it is, even when it's frustrating, that like someone who notoriously doesn't like repeating the same things over and over again, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm doing some of them. And I'm like, am I going to platinum this game? Maybe.
Yes, you are. Let's go. James Burke, I was hanging out with him last night. Platinum this game in like 4 sittings. And
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
I love him just so much. Just the idea of him just staying up all night playing Astro Bot. I don't know why.
I gotta go teach in the
Yeah.
morning, but I gotta get this done.
God, he's like, he platinum Bloodborne.
Yeah,
He
no, I know
platinum
that.
Sonic
I know that,
Frontiers. He's platinum like every Sonic game. We got.
Still
It's
play
insane.
more Kingdom Hearts games.
Still hasn't played Kingdom Hearts 2, which is why I told him. I was
James.
like, Snowbike Mike is playing Kingdom Hearts 2 before you. Jesus Christ. Well, everybody, this has been a super fun episode of the Kind of Funny Gamescast. If you're watching on Twitch, you can stay right where you are. But if you're on YouTube, you're going to need to make the jump, and you're going to want to see the continuation of the Until Dawn stream. We're going to get everybody out here playing together. The chaos is about to ensue, so you're going to want to check that out. Madeline, thank you so much for joining us. Where could people find you?
You can find me at Mad Exposure everywhere. I'm on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok sometimes, maybe once every couple months. But check me out any of those places, Mad Exposure.
And Joey, shout out to you for an excellent preview of Mario and Luigi Brothership.
This is hard to do. The previews, it's like, it's much easier when multiple people play the game and it's more of a conversation, but it's just like, oh, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of things to
You
remember.
crushed it,
So
Joey.
thank
You did
You
a great
crushed
job.
it. Shout out to Joe.
Amazing as always, Joey.
Thank you.
Let us know in the comments below if you are interested in Mario and Luigi Brothership, and also if you're interested in Fears to Fathom, which sounds super
I'm
cool.
interested in
for
Fears to
Spooky.
Fathom.
There
I'm
we
gonna go
go.
in the comment and say it.
Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.